Hello there guys, Bulabo10000 here, bringing you episode 2 of Rate Their Chances Season 2, the series where we rate the chances for potential newcomers making it into the DLC Fighter Pack roster for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, as inspired by the thread of the same name over on Smashboards, which you can find in the description. If you haven't checked out our first episode where we covered Sora, Shantae, Banjo and Kazooie, and Doomslayer, click the card in the top right corner and there'll be a link. And remember to leave a like if you enjoy. First things first, happy Boxing Day everyone! I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas, and hopefully a lot of you who maybe didn't have a Switch or Smash got your wish and now are proud owners of the game or the console. I had a lovely Christmas with my family, I got a lot of socks, but trust me, you will come to appreciate the socks as you get older. But the festivities may be dying down, however I still have to do some work, and today we've got 4 more characters being rated for you guys. The 4 characters we will be rating are Phoenix Wright from the Ace Attorney series, suggested by Masked Man-for-Alligator Man, who had the most liked comment on the last video with 304 likes. Bandana Dee from the Kirby series, suggested by Tina Lamanika and Ice Pac Man. Geno from Super Mario RPG, suggested by Armor45. And Lloyd Irving from Tales of Symphonia, suggested by Mudkip971. Brilliant name, by the way, Mudkips are awesome. So we have got 2 spirits, Geno and Bandana Dee, and 2 non-spirits, Phoenix and Lloyd. For those interested in that sort of statistic, how they'll all fare we'll just have to wait and see, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video regardless. If you want to get your character rated in next week's episode on Monday, leave a comment down below with the 1 character you'd like to see rated, and if it becomes the most liked comment on the video, I'll pick it when I script the next video. But don't worry, even if you're not the most liked comment, if you're fairly visible in the comments and I see your character, they may still get picked, so don't give up hope, just make sure that your character is eligible, aka not an assist trophy, and we're all good. Just a reminder before we begin that I do not represent the opinions of Sakurai, his team, or Nintendo. I only represent my own researched opinions on each character, and you can feel free to agree or disagree with me as you wish. It's a free world out there after all. With all that being said, let's get things started, so without further ado, let us begin. For our first character of the day, we have an extremely popular requested character who's no stranger to making fighting game crossovers if Marvel vs. Capcom is anything to go by. Today we're taking a look at Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, and wielder of the Objection. Now, in Season 1, Phoenix got an original rating of 25% back in Episode 8, with a reduction to 15% post-August, which culminated in Phoenix not making the final 20 after Season 1's 20th episode. And I was right. Phoenix was not in the base roster, and I was right to reduce his chances and rate him so lowly in the first place. But interestingly enough, despite his history with Nintendo, he hasn't had any spirits for his franchise in the base game, despite his parent company Capcom being tied to the series with Street Fighters Ryu and Ken, as well as the iconic Mega Man. This is definitely worth noting going forwards, as if Sakurai and Nintendo wanted to make the DLC easier on them, they would stick to companies that were already involved in the development of Ultimate in some way. This is already implied to be the case with our first DLC fighter Joker, as Atlus, the company who works on the Persona and Shin Megami Tensei games, is actually a Sega subsidiary who has Sonic and Bayonetta in the game already, though Bayo is co-owned by Nintendo and Sega, so whether that's as important is up to you guys. We know the Phoenix has a potential moveset that could be extremely off-the-walls wacky and downright insane just based on his Marvel vs. Capcom appearances, which Sakurai could use as a way of helping to translate the character to Smash. And his franchise has a lot of memorable characters who could be added as spirits. Miles Edgeworth, Maya, and the main judge, just to name a few. However, and this is something I touched upon in the previous season, there's another character that fits Phoenix's archetype to the point where their franchises had a crossover game, and I feel like if anyone could potentially fight Phoenix for a chance to be DLC in Smash, Professor Layton from Level 5 is going to be a problem for the character. Level 5 as a developer is fitting of the trend that Smash has always gone with regarding their DLC picks. Companies who originated in Japan, who are massive in the country, and globally for their games. Level 5 is one of the 10 largest video game companies in Japan, and Nintendo is in charge of internationally publishing for their games. There's already a major link that Nintendo can use to leverage a character from the studio if they want it. Now, I'd love for Layton and Wright to both get in, though I personally would prefer Layton myself, but I will get to him in another video, do not worry. I really feel they just hit the same niche, and I don't think there's room for the both of them, with only 4 characters left to pick from. With all of that being said, I think Phoenix has a better shot here than he did for the base roster, just based on the idea that we could be seeing an almost entirely third-party DLC roster, if not completely third-party. There's nothing to suggest either way that will come to pass, but you can't deny that Phoenix has a better shot this time around. So, my chance score for Phoenix Wright is going to be a cool 60%. Yeah, I'm really high on the character's chances, especially when compared to a lot of the Western characters we rated in episode 1, who I feel have more of a hurdle to overcome to get in the game. Phoenix would be a perfect fit for the roster, but I don't think I'm going to rate him any higher because there's a certain professor who I'd like to rate at some point who I feel has a higher shot at the roster. As for a want score, Phoenix stays at a 50% like Season 1. I don't really care much for the character, I haven't played the Ace Attorney games, yet they're on my to-play list. I just need to get around to them. Today's episode is very interesting because 2 of the characters being rated were actually originally rated on episode 2 of season 1. And our first of these 2 characters is the beloved Bandana Dee, the most deserving 4th Kirby rep out there who sadly did not make the base roster this time around. So in his original rating he got a 70%, as at the time we'd only seen Ridley, Daisy, and the Inklings, and we had no idea where this roster was going, but this was a first-party character who we all thought had a big shot at the time. Post-August, I lowered his score to a 50%, as I was feeling a little less sure about the character, and at that point Vergaben had basically leaked the rest of the roster, being Isabelle, Ken, and Incineroar, so they all ended up higher rated than him. After episode 20, I decided to up his score to 65%, but it's worth noting that Incineroar and Ken were still higher than him, and we had no way of knowing those 2 were the final characters, so I had a lot of people high up at that point. Bandana Dee was always a character I felt had a good shot at making the roster, but given he is now a spirit you get from enhancing a Waddle Dee, I have to wonder, is that going to hurt his chances? Well, after the Joker reveal, Reggie had a short interview on the Game Awards, and he had this to say. So, the DLC, there's going to be 5 characters, each character will come with a stage, it'll come with a collection of music. These are going to be characters that are new to the series, just like Joker from Persona 5. Characters you would not anticipate to be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, for Bandana Dee and for a lot of characters who have major support pre-DLC, this is a horrible, horrible thing to hear from an official Nintendo source, because everyone wants to anticipate a new Kirby or a new first-party rep, but the way Reggie phrased his comments, it's definitely implying the opposite. And whether you choose to read into this comment as no existing franchises will get new reps is your call, but the message behind these words doesn't help Bandana Dee. I've already gone over in the past how Bandana Dee's moveset is already pre-made in a way, just due to how Star Allies, the latest game in the franchise, controls. It's already like a built-in Super Smash Bros. Moveset. He has a spear, which is a weapon that nobody on the roster has really used, though I imagine Corrin's long dragon legs would function similarly to the spear. He's got a built-in recovery where he spins the spear in a fan-like motion. Everybody loves Bandana Dee as well, with a large support base for the character, and if a Piranha Plant can get in, I don't think the Hat Goomba argument holds any merit anymore. However, I have to admit, while I'm not personally a fan of the if you're a spirit, you're not DLC argument, I feel it definitely applies better to some characters than it does others, and I'll be completely upfront when I say this. Bandana Dee's best chance was the base roster, as I feel he's definitely going to be overshadowed in the race for DLC, because literally anyone and everyone is eligible at this point, and a safe pick like Bandana, I have a gut feeling that safe isn't going to cut it going forwards. Despite the fact I would love this boy to be in Smash as a playable fighter, I have to give Bandana Dee a chance score of 15%. Everything really is pointing against Bandana Dee's DLC potential in this cycle, which is a genuine shame as the character truly deserves a shot at the roster. I do think he has more of a shot than Doomslayer or Shantae though, hence the slightly higher percentage to them from last week. As for a want score, Bandana Dee gets a 90%. I would love this character, I would play this character, and I think if anyone has really worked hard enough for a spot in this game, it's Bandana Dee. So the second of our two spirit characters in today's ratings, we've got a massive fan favourite, one of the main cast of characters on the Grinch leak. God, I wish we could forget the Grinch leak. Yes, it's Geno from Super Mario RPG, a character that some truly believed had what it took to make the leap to playable, only for him to falter and succumb to Galeem's Spirit Blasts. In Season 1, Geno's original rating was a 70%, as I felt that after Ridley's reveal, the idea of a fan-favourite roster heavily favoured Geno, who had a Mii costume back in Smash 4, which, along with many other third-party costumes, have been removed from Ultimate, much to the sadness of Geno fans. Post-August, Geno got an 85%, as everything shown in August really seemed to be leaning towards Geno's favour, with the character ultimately being my second most anticipated character going into the final Smash Direct. But as we all know, he didn't make it into the base roster, instead showing up as a spirit battle in the Great Fox portion of the World of Light overworld, with his battle being a fight against the cast of Super Mario RPG. For me, the scary part is that they removed his Mii costume, but still had the spirit of the character. I feel like had the spirit and the costume stayed, he'd be in a better spot. But with many third-party Mii costumes being removed, I wonder whether licensing fees or other issue caused a problem with Nintendo that led to the removal of these costumes. Or, on the other hand, we do know that Mii costumes will be getting paid DLC in Ultimate due to a Nintendo website page that specifies what sort of DLC we'll be getting with the game. So perhaps the costumes aren't removed, but instead being held back as paid DLC, since those specific costumes required licensing fees, and thus would make sense being paid for, as opposed to getting for free at the start of Ultimate's lifespan. Now, we discussed Sora last week as a potential Square Enix rep, and you may have noticed, but Geno never popped up in that segment when I was discussing likely characters from that company. There is a reason for that. I think Geno is going to suffer a very similar situation to Bandana Dee in that his DLC chances are significantly lower than his base roster chances. Geno is a fan favourite character and would have made perfect sense for the base, but as a DLC character, not as many people know who he is, and there's no guarantee he'll earn a lot of money as a DLC, which, given his parent is Square Enix, I feel is quite important. There are other Square Enix characters that I feel would serve the DLC position better than Geno, despite the fact I would absolutely love for Geno to be in this game, and not just for me, but for others out there like Papa Geno's, for example. Geno also doesn't fit into Reggie's quote from the last section either, as he's maybe not anticipated, but certainly wanted, and Reggie really laid it on thick that we're in for a surprising lineup of DLC, which Geno doesn't really fit the moniker for. I do 100% believe Square Enix is getting a DLC fighter, I mentioned this last week, but Geno's gone from being a top contender to being much lower on the ladder rung for DLC, and this is reflected in my score. With all of this in mind, Geno gets a chance score of 20%, a far cry from his Season 1 days, and a definite blow to the character on this series. His best shot was in the base roster, and as a fairly in-depth spirit, he fits the same mold as Bandana Dee in my opinion, and that really hurts his chances going forwards. Especially when his parent company have many other characters that could make more sense with what Nintendo seems to be going for this DLC. As for a want score though, Geno gets an 80%. He is not my most wanted of all time, but he's certainly one of my most wanted that has been rated this season, and if he does end up getting in as a fighter, I will be ecstatic. But I feel the most we can expect is a potential Geno Mii costume return when Square's actual character gets revealed. Our final character on today's lineup of rated characters is the second of our two characters today who had their original rating on episode 2 of Season 1. And like his original episode, finding footage of this character that's good quality was a horrific endeavor and extremely difficult. Can't someone play a Tales of Symphonia game on quality that isn't a potato? Anyway, here's Lloyd Irving from the Tales series. Now, Lloyd is actually quite the special character for me personally, not because I'm a massive fan, I've never played his games, but during the Ultimate Hype period, there was a lot of crossing over between Lloyd's fans and Isaac's fans, so I got to meet and know a lot of awesome people who supported Lloyd, who also supported Isaac. This ultimately led to an awesome Reddit tournament poll where Lloyd managed to make it to the top 4 even though Isaac did beat him in the end, which was an amazing position for the character and showed he had demand behind him in 2018. His original rating last season had him at a 20%. I didn't think Sakurai would add another swordsman in the base roster, and aside from Chrom, he actually didn't. But on top of that, I took Sakurai's old quote about Bamco not having many suitable reps to heart, and ultimately I was right. Lloyd kept his 20% past August, but once I narrowed the characters down to 20 people, he was cut from the list, and lo and behold, he was not in the base roster. So what's the argument for Lloyd Irving making it into Smash this time around in DLC? Firstly, he's a third-party character, and DLC in Smash has definitely favoured the third parties. There are only 2 first-party DLC characters we've had, being Corrin and Piranha Plant. All others were third-party if you don't include veterans. Secondly, he's a Bandai Namco representative, a company that literally helps to make the game, and yet they've only got Pac-Man on their Smash resume, with barely any spirits of their own either. Nintendo was in charge of DLC this time around, and going with the company that helped you to create not only Ultimate, but Smash 4 as well, would make so much sense. They have the experience of working on the franchise, and if anyone can translate their characters into the game, it's Bandai Namco themselves. I think there's a very high chance we'll get a Bamco rep. The question is, who and from what series? Well, I mentioned this in Season 1, but I do believe it will come down to 2 different franchises, Tekken and Tales. Because guys, as much as I want it, we are not getting a Ridge Racer rep, and we're not getting a Dig Dug rep, let's be real here. Now, Tekken is cool, but I feel the fighting game niche is already filled to the brim by Street Fighter, and while this may be my chance to get a Yoshimitsu Mii costume, I really think that if push comes to shove, unless we get Heihachi, I think Tekken and Soul Calibur will be ignored this time around. They might get Spirits and Mii costumes, but a playable character, while not out of the question, would surprise me just a tiny bit. On the other end, the Tails series has been a massive supporter of Nintendo consoles, having a long history with Nintendo. Lloyd Irving is the most requested Tails character, and is a recognizable character too, but would he sell well compared to a Tekken character if he were chosen? I doubt it. The problem Lloyd faces might just be his moveset though. From an outsider looking in, he's got two swords. And already, for any pedantic Smash fan, that raises red flags because clearly, swords are the bane of all evil and need to be destroyed at all costs. No fighter should ever have to wield a sword, it is disgusting. Lloyd did have a Mii costume in Smash 4, and I find it odd that out of all the Mii costumes removed that were third party, they took out Bamco's when their company literally helped to make the game. My thoughts are that these costumes could come back as paid DLC with a Namco rep, but who knows what the future holds for those costumes, I just hope they make a return. Either way, the fact that Lloyd got a costume in Smash 4 shows he's a character that was on Sakurai's radar in terms of just knowing who he is. His franchise is also completely new and pretty damn big, meaning new music, new stage, new representation, and history in the gaming industry. It fits with Reggie's statement on the DLC. So with all of that in mind, Lloyd Irving gets an impressive chance score of 60%. Yeah, I'm gonna go high with Lloyd. It may not be the popular opinion, but I think Lloyd's got a much higher chance now than he ever did for the base roster. He fits the archetype of a DLC Smash fighter pretty well, and he's got a fan base out there. Though for a want score, he gets a 40%. I would rather have Yoshimitsu from Tekken/Soul Calibur as my Bamco rep, but I've always acknowledged that's never going to happen. Well, that's it for episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed today's ratings, and whether you agreed or disagree with my reasonings and choices, hopefully we can all stay civil and remember that I only represent myself and my somewhat researched opinions. It's okay guys, don't worry, I'm going to get pinged in my Discord by Sakurai and other users who will disagree with everything I say anyway. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more Rate Their Chances every single week. Next Monday will be episode 3, so keep an eye out. Leave a comment with a character you want to see rated next, and I hope you enjoyed. Just a quick reminder that, as I alluded to a few moments ago, I do have a Discord down below. I've not been too active recently, it's been a busy time, but the Discord is a nice place to hang out, and if you're interested, there's a lot of chats for stuff. Though, admittedly, I'm gonna be deleting a lot of them come the new year, because I think I want to give it a little bit of an overhaul. And I want to give a massive shout out to all my patrons over on Patreon. You guys keep supporting me each and every month. You are awesome. Patrons get access to a special Steam giveaway each month, and the deadline for being entered this month is the 28th. So if you become a patron before then, you'll get entered into the giveaway and potentially win big, given it's the Winter Steam Sale, of course. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you guys next time. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and goodbye.